welcome to this service of Unity of Boerne. It's a beautiful day here. We're so glad you're with us. Beautiful inside as well as outside. And we're glad you're with us. We'd love to have you with us in person.
Hey, everyone!
That was saying, we're ready. So yes, we're ready. We're full, and we're happy that you're here to be with us this morning. So as I say, every week they come, join us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wasn't here last week. My humblest apologies. Today, India is doing the music this morning. Ed is our greeter. Ann is running the slides. Tom is in charge of the camera. And please, everybody stand to sing the joy song. My life begins to run today.
Life begins for me today. The world's before me lie. The yesterdays have passed away. No more to cause a sigh. Before me lies the bright today. All blessings in its hold. And I rejoice to find life's way and sing its joys untold. Today for me begins anew, a life that holds for me all that is good and real and true. Its blessings now I see. I look no longer to the past, nor wait for future days. For if today my heart is cast, His presence joins I praise.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. And I'm looking around to see anybody that's the first timer. Oh, you two new people here. Welcome back from your travels. Of course, inside our bulletins is a prayer request form. And please, if you have some, the prayer box will be coming around later in the service. Give yourself a little time if you have. If not, if you want to keep it in your heart, then that's where it shall be. But the prayer requests are prayed over locally with a prayer group and then sent to Unity of Silent Unity, prayed over for a month. And now to our announcements. The dry goods, of course, every week it's out to be done. Especially this week, of course, we're having a potluck. But there's another little basket out there that is, when Bertie was here 2 weeks ago, she asked that we would help out with the backpacks for people experiencing the rural homelessness. And most of you, I think, remember her comments there. But any of the things, there's little handouts back in the back to show what people need. So if you have the inclination, please do that. The potluck again is afterwards. I have made my, no, you don't need to know that. And we also need people to help clean up, and everybody does a good job. The morning book discussion, we're still having a great time with the revelations of the Aramaic Jesus. Please join us. It's an incredible read. If any of you have been losing out on not getting your emails or stuff, please re-sign again, and we'll make sure that gets in. We have ongoing activities via Zoom. They're listed in the order of service, as well as how to get to them. Of course, there's the Jesus, my autobiography on Wednesday evenings, Course of Miracles on Wednesday evenings, and the Pathlighters on Thursday. And you can go to our Facebook page at unityof Boerne.org for the links and all that stuff that pertains to it. And all of these are doing very well. Now we will have the daily word read by the champion.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Gouger. As we we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in spirit with millions of daily word readers and churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is generous. The affirmation is, the abundance of the world flows through me. I am securely in the flow of prosperity when I receive graciously and gratefully and share my abundance generously. Whatever I share with a loving, giving heart blesses me as much as it blesses the one who receives it. Each time I share of my supply, I am demonstrating my trust that I will always have what I need. When I share myself, I am living my faith that I am a divine being empowered with a limitless supply of divine ideas. The richness of an abundant universe flows through me. Knowing this, I don't hesitate to be generous so others will know the abundance of the world as I know it. Through my giving, may they also know the blessings of the awesome power and grace of God as they bless me daily. In Scripture, it is written, now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from God, so that we may understand the gifts bestowed on us by God. The affirmation is, the abundance of the world flows through me. My name is Pam. Thank you for worshiping with our Unity Burning family.
Thank you.
Now please stand for the miracle moment. And we say together, infinite wisdom, stretched my steadfast right hand. I am waiting alive to this moment and hold bright and beautiful vision for my life. My life expands as I expand my consciousness to include new possibilities for growth and expression. And so it is. And our celebration song, there shall be showers of blessing.
There shall be showers of blessing. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons refreshing, sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessing. Showers
Thank
of
you.
blessing we need. Mercy drops round us falling, and for the showers we need. There shall be showers of blessing, as we carry the hand over the hills and the valleys, showers of abundance of rain. Showers of blessings, showers of blessings we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, and for the showers we need. There shall be showers of blessing, send them upon us, O Lord. Granted us now a refreshing, come and now honor thy word. Showers of blessing, showers of blessings we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead.
Thank you. And now for our opening prayer.
Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Thank you. Be seated. And I now turn to the remainder of the service over to Dave. And it's certainly to be a great time.
Thank you, sir. last week. You were in the hands of a very nice and good and talented person, Jeannie Brocious King. It's always nice to have her visit with us, and I trust you all were blessed with your presence. Right now, it's time in our service for our prayers and our affirmations. There are a couple announcements I'd like to make before we get into this. One of the things is that it was my pleasure to bring an original edition of the Course in Miracles from the Course in Miracles Society for our library. And the one thing that I would ask for those of you who want to check it out or look at it is keep it just for 2 weeks and give everyone a chance to initially go through it. And then you can pick it back up again or wherever. I'd like everybody to be able to have a chance to glance at it at least. There's no way you're going to do the whole book in 2 weeks, but this is to familiarize yourself with this edition that stands in contradistinction from the Foundation for Inner Peace edition, which is pretty much the same. It's just that the edition that I gifted this morning, that I gave this morning to our church, has some material that was not included in the Foundation for Inner Peace edition. Some of Dr. Helen Schickman's The Scribe of the Course in Miracles, some of her notes, some of her ideas, some things like this. It's well worth your time and read. So I ask you, please, when you check it out, keep it 2 weeks, and then bring it back, allow other folks to get a look at it. And then I'll see what I can do about getting this as a Kindle thing that the whole church might be able to get for no charge. I have to be in further touch with the Course in Miracles Society. I have my fingers in all those pies, and I love it. We're all teaching truth. We're all pointing the way to the richer and more full life that is ours. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the book. And I would also like you to know that we have a Course in Miracles meeting ourselves every Wednesday night. I know most of you know about that. It's expanding right now with people from out of state that are starting to come. It is a wonderful hour on Wednesdays, and it's from 8 to 9. And I wanted to dovetail that with saying to you that our Sunday evening book study is now a Monday evening book study, and it was from 7 to 8:30 prior to this time. It's now going to be Mondays from 8 until 9. So all our things start uniformly. Our Pathlighters on Thursday night starts at 8 and goes till 9. Our Course in Miracles on Wednesday night starts at 8 and goes to 9. And our Monday evening book study will start at 8 and go to 9. So that way it's a little more uniform. It gives you some chance to do some things that you might need to do earlier in the evening and be part of it. What I'm saying also more than anything is the outreach opportunities here at the Community of Boerne are wonderful. And they're only missing you who are not there. If you can make it, we'd love to have you be part of it. We're reaching people literally all across the country, in some cases around the world. So I appreciate that. Those were the announcements that I had, and I would ask you right now to assume an attitude of prayer after you have written down what you would like to have prayed about and placed in the prayer box that goes to unity, where it is prayed over for 30 days. We also pray over here, our prayer team does. If you don't want to fill out the paper, you prefer just to keep the prayer request in your heart or in your mind, we understand that as well. We uphold and uplift you at this time in our church service. This is a very powerful, dedicated, consecrated time in our church that we come together to uphold the very best, the wonder, the truth, the beauty of our lives and what it can be through prayer. We know there's only one type of prayer, and that's answered prayer. We affirm that now. So if you need to write right now and place a request in this box, I'll hold a little bit of time. Otherwise, Terry, I think we got them all. Otherwise, we'll pray together. presence that sustains and uplifts us. We make communion with right now. We're aware of the things that are on our hearts and in our collective hearts as well. The problems that we have in our lives, the problems that we see around our world and all in between. We know one thing. We know that the Spirit of the living, loving God is present and responds to us as we make conscious contact with that. And we do right now. These requests, these longings, these desires, these petitions of our heart are brought forward right now in our consciousness. And we declare truth's promise that according to our faith it is done unto us. To those that need a touch of the divine this morning, a touch of grace this morning, may they receive it right now. We send our love with our prayers. In fact, our prayers are love, forms of love. And we know that they're answered according to how we give them in consciousness. We know that they are received by the infinite, by the Spirit that outworks and manifests in all our affairs the perfect will that is ultimately love. Our hearts are free. Our minds are open, and right now, we not only ask that the best and highest be done in the lives of those who have requests that are represented as body, we affirm that it's being done, that there is no time in the Spirit that is being answered, and those who need to have their hearts touched or quickened, receive that right now through the corporate power of the love that we share and are here and always at Unity with Boerne. We give thanks in abundance for answered prayer. We declare it is so. Amen.
Today I brought one of my own songs to go with today's message, because if we're living with awareness, and one day at a time, it helps to live in the in-between spaces. There are times I feel like I'm running up a mountain with only two-wheel drive and some baggage pulled behind. So I stop when I get tired and look down where I came from, and it's then I see the landscape all around below above. A little bit of time, a little sunshine, where there's no need to be strong. I find my song, living every day in the in-between spaces, as I head toward a dreamed of places. I see down along the way, and I stop a while and notice the sun, the sky, and the roses. I find that I'm okay in the in-between spaces. Live today, live today. When I'm thinking way too hard, so it's hard to see my path. When I've analyzed the problem, don't look so charged and rough, I rise up from the desk, and the rule book and the chalk, and I gladly tell the latch in my hand to take a walk. And what I give up is giving up, where my thoughts instead ideas begin. When I give the world unturning permission to stand still, when I gaze a while on nothing, not being on becoming, I'll count it as they win. Each time I realize
right now, we assume a position inside ourselves that we're familiar with. It's a place that we go when we want peace, when we want the surcease of difficulty, when life and its cares seem overwhelming. We know the place that we visit, or if we don't have one, we become acquainted with it right now. It is a place that is not affected by anything that happens outside of us. It is the pure presence of the creative energy that animates and sustains us. And it is a place of, most importantly, a place of safety. A place where hurt, and pain, and upset, and defeat cannot exist. A place of pure love. It's the foundation of who we are. And in this place, we feel a calm begin to come across us. It just starts at the top of our heads and it begins to flow downward. It's rather a warm feeling. It's a familiar feeling of comfort. We know we felt it in joyous times. We just called it a different name. It is the place where the Spirit resides and resides in us. Where everything is understood and everything is forgiven because there is no blame. The Spirit is love. Perfect love casts out all fear. We release any fearful thoughts right now. Not only obvious fears, but fears that we aren't enough. We should have done more. We should have done something. We know the perfect presence and power of now, and the presence of the Creator is with us in any moment. And it is all right. It's all in perfect order. Our human regrets and recriminations are things to let go of here. In the presence of this love, we become so filled with joy we can almost not hardly stand. It's a place that not only recreates us and reinvigorates us, but it's safe. It's who we truly are. It's the ancient voice in us that bids us to come apart a while. It knows. Egoic parts of ourselves think that it knows. Thinks it has the answer. The higher self of us has the answer, and we, by lowly listening, tune into that right now. We take abundantly of this healing energy for our minds, for our bodies, for our emotions. Love animates every cell of our being. love allows us to see ourselves differently and to cease for all time to think something should have been another way. We understand that it was all in perfect order for the lessons that we needed to learn and the hand that held ours throughout it all. With us now. Was with us then and will be with us for always and all time. The blessings are at hand and we claim them now. We allow the Spirit to soothe us, to comfort us, to heal us, and to act as us. So it is. Wonderful to be with you all. It's wonderful to be able to speak on a topic that's near and dear to my heart, the idea of living one day at a time. I'm sure that y'all remember the old singer from way back, Christy Lane, who sang, "One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking from you. Just give me the grace and help me to take one day at a time." Sometimes we live not only one day at a time, but if things are difficult enough, and we see them that way, we say we're living sometimes an hour at a time, and sometimes even a minute at a time. I know that when I went up in an airplane with my uncle, who was a Cessna pilot, and I was 10 years old, I was living about a second at a time. My heart was beating out of my chest, and he was doing things he had learned as a pilot, and I didn't know them. I was a kid, and he knew what he was doing, but it scared me a little bit. And I'll always remember that. And I thought, if I can just get to this next second, we'll be back on the ground. And the funny thing about it is, and our egos are this way, he ended up, of course, landing the plane, and when we came to a stop, I thought, first thing came to my mind, I want to do that again. And that's just strange. I think we sometimes enjoy scaring ourselves as part of the fun of the journey. But to be a little more serious about this idea of sometimes 1 minute at a time signifies the idea that we go through things sometimes that can tax our very natures to the maximum we think we can endure. There are certain human pains and sufferings and sorrows that all of us are heir to just by being in the form we showed up in. And it hurts. And because we affirm in this denomination, along with other New Thought communities all around the world, we affirm the good, the pure, the powerful, the positive, the wonderful, the new life, the positivity that I'm talking about that is part of us. Just because we do that does not mean that we are somehow inoculated against life's ups and downs and what we call the vagaries of life, the misfortunes of life, the things that we'd do anything if we didn't have to go through. And they are the things sometimes that we say, get me through this, just even this next minute. To live in a state of grace means to accept the fact that there are going to be times that are like I mentioned, and there are going to be times that take our breaths away for other reasons, because we're so happy and joyful, and we'd love for it to stay. What comes to pass, so many times we want to stay. We want to grab on to the good and not let it go. And we want to get rid of those things that we say we're living through 1 minute at a time. Get out of here, quick. I don't want it. And the thing is about those times that we want to have surcease from, they can be some of our greatest teachers. They're the things that we build new lives upon. They're the things that we can look back on and say, hey, I made it through that. I know that some of the hardest things that have been in my life have been things that I would have given anything if I could have just gotten through it quickly. I wanted to, have a fast forward through this. I remember thinking, if I could just get past this and if I could just learn the lesson now and the rest of this will go away, I'd be so happy. God, get me past it. And I realized I was getting me past my own life. There were things that I needed to learn in those difficult times, just to get past it. We live in a world that's used to fast forwards, rewinds, instant technology, processed instant God even, processed coffee, technology that says in an instant you can have it. The problem is growth takes time. Life is growth. Life is learning. And lessons take the time that they take. Some people don't like it called lessons at all. I have a dear friend that doesn't like the analogy of our lives being likened to a classroom where we're in school to learn things for the evolution of our soul. But if we're not doing that, what are we doing here? We live some 40, 50, 60, 80, 100 years, and then we lay this body down for what reason? To just have had a few ephemeral times that we liked and some things that we didn't like, and that's that. I believe that life is we form it rather, for the elucidation of our souls. In other words, it's set up by us to learn what we need to learn for the next moment of our being. It's a fancy way of saying we go through one thing to get to another thing that is designed for us to grow beyond those things. I can even bring it down even more to the street, which is the way I like to do it. The idea is, if Spirit brought you to it, Spirit will get you through it. But we have to realize that we need to let go of the false conditioned self that thinks it knows the answer and should be or should not be going through what we're going through. We're making judgments that say, this should be this, that should be that, and why am I in this shape? You're in this shape because there's something for you to learn that can only happen in this moment, one day at a time, and sometimes, as I said, 1 minute at a time. I am not a person, and I don't begin to even think of standing here telling you that I'm not acquainted with the idea of suffering. It's just that I know suffering is optional. And I know when I enter into it, it's a guilty pleasure. It's one that I'm going to have to pay for later. That's why I prefer to take the suffering times and squeeze them into smaller and smaller increments of time, because you pay a price for luxuriating in negativity. We think our self-righteousness or our ideas about the way things should be are things that we have a right to think. You know, Dr. Emmett Fox, a great metaphysician, said, You know, people think about their rights all the time, and the right to think negatively, the right to think what they want to about, you know, how bad things were. Well, you have the right to take prussic acid or to take strychnine, but you don't do it because you know it's going to hurt you. And when you luxuriate in those things that came to pass by making them stay when you're luxuriating them or you're holding on to that negativity, when you do that, you're going to pay a price. The rest of us are going to pay a price because you're going to be projecting those feelings. You have to offload that sense of guilt. As the Course in Miracles calls it, there is a guilt for suffering against the nature of who we truly are. The self of us, with the capital S, knows only love, peace, harmony, light, prosperity, abundance, riches, loving, caring, sharing, health, wealth, happiness. Do you see the idea that the higher self knows? The ego supposes. The ego thinks it knows the answer to any question. It's the voice that speaks first. It's the voice that speaks the loudest, and it's usually wrong. It's the pounding, persistent I thought that gets us in so much trouble. Or if only they would do something different. If only they were different sorts of people, I could be at peace. We have laundry lists of ideas about how things should be so that we can be at peace. I don't know about you, but that's letting life live me. I want to live life from a dedicated, concentrated choice that says, I'm going to be the master of what comes in my way, not by manipulating and juggling events, but by keeping my mind open, receptive, and ready to receive the imprimatur of spirit. And that's something that's there every moment. It's a decision we must make. The Course in Miracles says, I am here to be truly helpful. Folks, that's not just for other people. You're here to be truly helpful to yourself. You're there to give those things that we talk about in loving ways in the Christian tradition or any, spiritual tradition that values treating your neighbor as yourself. We're here to give the light of the world to others. But in order to do that, we must first cultivate that in ourselves. We must have a flame inside of us that burns always and burns the brightest, though the worst may go before us. All of us have things out here today that we regret. And the interesting thing is we can only do that in this now, one day at a time, one regret at a time. Sometimes people seem like they have a whole ton of them that they're entertaining at once, but you know what? They may be different types of actors and plays and situations on the outside, but really the conflict is talking about fear. Fear because we haven't followed the truth of our being. Conflict comes from fear. When we're not okay with what is, a conflict is set up within us where we think we know better. We know we do better. We know it would be better if we were in charge. But good luck with that. None of us can be in charge of this world. It's a lifetime job to be in charge of ourselves. And yet we run around feverishly looking for things that we need to do for other people. If they followed my advice, it'd be so much better. If that person would be with this person, they'd be so much more happy. If we could just, if people would just listen to me, all that advice that you have has a good home. It's in you. Give it to yourself. And when you give that love to yourself, when you give that, as I call it, misplaced care and concern, worrying about others before yourself, is really putting the cart before the horse. You have to take care of your mental household. You have a kingdom you must rule. You have a place inside you from which life emanates. You make the opinions and decisions. Am I telling you, and I want to tell you this in the most direct form way, am I telling you, you are powerful beyond measure? Because you are. You are. You were told, and I was told, by the greatest teacher that ever lived, you're the light of the world. And that yours is a life more abundant if you can get this persistent I thought out of the way. That is the self that you have with all the things that you wish you'd never done. The shames, the upsets, the pains, all that. All those things that have flavored you today and made you what you are. Let me ask you, are you happy with it? Can you live with the fact that you were human and did the best that you could at the time, given your knowledge and awareness? Can you live with the fact that you're divine? Can you live with the fact that you have both selves in you? Can you live with the fact that the more that you contact the self with a capital S, the happier you're going to be? And what does that look like? That means simply, and notice, you're simply, kind of interesting what follows this, simply giving up every grievance you ever had. Giving up any idea that you could have done it better than you did. Giving up all hope for a better past. Aren't we humans amazing? We actually think that if we think about something long enough, if we really think about it long enough, we can change what has happened in the past. If we think about it, we can learn some lessons. But we can't change what has happened. I think I remember telling you all a few months ago when my roof caved in with all that water, I did the smartest thing I think I've ever done. I sat there and looked at it for 5 hours. I looked up at that big mess of insulation and junk, and it seemed to me after a while, I thought, you know, you're thinking that if you look at it long enough, it's going to change. And the only thing that's going to change is if you call the insulation repair person. And you know what really is funny is after I called the insulation and repair person, I still looked at it. So I don't know, as my neighbor said, is it a guy thing or is it a person thing or whatever thing it is, but that's what I did. And then when it was fixed, everything felt wonderful and good. Don't look at it anymore. We tend to look at the things in our lives that hurt, whether they be the roofs that caved in or the things that we have gone through, with the eye that if I just think about it long enough and hard enough, I'll make it different. All you have to do is forgive it. And when you forgive it, you become re-empowered. You have the power all the time. Alan Coleman said it so well. I did a seminar with him. He was in San Antonio. He is a wonderful man. I recommend his work. But one of the things that Alan Coleman said in a book that he wrote, I had it all the time. I just didn't know how to use the power that was mine. I didn't know. I was thinking in some roundabout ways because I didn't have a system of thought. And one of the things we know the mind will do is it will run wild without a system of thought. We all affirm systems of thought here in unity, in religious science, in science of mind, in any of these wonderful ideas and theologies that say that we create our lives by the thoughts we think. We also create our lives by the things we forgive. We create our lives by the things we are willing to let go of, one day at a time. The reason I wanted to call this one day at a time is to hear this idea, you'll think, this is a lifetime of effort. It's so big, it stretches out in front of me, it's so hard to do. All you're called to do is to change your mind one thought at a time. So when those things come to you that you've done, and they will because you're human, it's okay to take note of them. As Louise Hay said, just don't have lunch with them. Don't invite them in. Just allow them to pass like leaves on a patio. I noticed that. I remember that. That was something. That was a thing. It's no longer a thing. I forgave it. It's over. It's done. Doing that, living in that type of acceptance doesn't mean that you endorse what happened, that you wanted what happened, that you would welcome it. It just means saying, as great Walter Cronkite said, that's the way it is. And being all right with that. And the way that you're all right with that always is to forgive. And how do you forgive? One thought at a time. Living one day at a time, forgiving your thoughts of attack against yourself or other people is a big jump. It's one that you should remind yourself you're doing every day. That's how we build a sense of esteem of our true selves. We do good things and we remember it. And that becomes the basis upon which we're building a new life. The building of a life takes time. And the time is going to go by anyway. And you have the opportunity right here, where no matter what you're going through at this moment, no matter what challenges you face, to forgive yourself for thinking yourself, less than able to meet what is in front of you. I want to speak words over you this morning that empower you. You are powerful. You are more than conquerors through Him that loves you. Think about that. St. Paul said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. To run the race with perseverance, to come to the end and say, I fought the good fight, I've run the race, kept the faith. That's the good life. To come to the end with regrets, missed opportunities that we let go on purpose because we thought we knew better. We thought we didn't deserve it. We thought we were too small. All those things that we allow our small self to tell us. To come to the end like that seems to me a difficult way to go about it. As Dr. Wayne Dyer said, don't die with the music still in you. There's somebody that needs what you have to give. There's somebody that needs your touch. And that person is the one in the mirror to begin with. That means you say to yourself, I did the best I could given my knowledge and awareness at the time. And mean it. And know that you're there to be truly helpful to yourself. And remember this very important statement. True health, whether it be mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it may be, true health is inner peace. We have bodies that are going to come and go and do what they do. When you've made a decision for the love that is inside you and have forgiven everything, including your body and including other bodies, or anything that they may do, if you have forgiven that, you have inner peace. You have the pearl of great price. Jesus talked constantly about being in another world beside this one. Be ye not transformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be in this world, but not of it. So you're here and you're experiencing, but you recognize you have a kingdom that you're a part of, and one you must rule, that is the ultimate truth of you. It's truth the poet sings. The poet that is James Dillard Freeman in Unity. I love his work, and I'm sure you all are familiar with that name. And if not, I would recommend him to you. He was a great author and speaker and teacher of Unity to begin with. And he wrote this, and I'd like to close with this. I trusted it to my memory, but I want to be sure that I got it just right, so I wrote it down. But it's something that I memorized some time ago. When you talk about this idea of answered prayer and starting again and a life that is worth living, and he closed his prayer, he said,
It flooded the crimson twilight like the close of an angel's palm, and it lay on my fevered spirits in the touch of infinite calm. Wow, to live like that. I hope you accept that touch of infinite calm this morning, forgiving yourself and others, and know your own purpose. You're blessed to be a blessing. God loves you all, and so it is. Now it's time we get to do in our service the receiving of the blessing by giving the blessing, monetary blessing. When you give, it is given to you. Scripture says, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, given to you. We need your support for the outreach that we do at this church. For those who are watching online, I so appreciate your gifts. I know you press the PayPal button. I know you send in checks. I thank you for it. I'm going to remind you again to press that button, or if you prefer, to send your gifts to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. We invite you to do that. You will be blessed. When you, the very act of giving, you also are receiving. You're receiving the blessing. We all know how it feels inside when we give from a place of love. It lights us up. And that's what I want to see all of us feel, that we're lit up, especially as we approach this time of the year. So I ask for your best gift that you're able to give this morning. Thank you.
I have received, freely, freely I give. Thy love through me blesses all that I am, all that I give and receive. Freely, freely I have received, freely, freely I give. Thy love through me blesses all that I am, all that I give and receive. All that I give and receive.
Together, we repeat our prayer for increase, divine love.
Divine love through me. Blesses and blesses all that I am, that I have, all that I give, all that I receive. And I thank you, Lord, for my blessing and my love.
So it is. Amen.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Now together we join hands and join hands if you feel comfortable doing so.
Sure, young man.
Peace on earth, and let it begin
there you have another great service here in Unity and Boerne. We stand as a family, and we hold you as family. Those of you who are watching, consider yourselves part of the family. We are so happy to have you today. All we can say is, while we prepare to sit down and break bread together, keep in mind just next third Sunday of next month, we're going to do this again. We'd love to see you and break bread with you. Oh, it's not necessary to bring any particular food if you're just coming to visit the first time. That's a blessing in itself. We're glad. Thank you for coming in spirit. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with you. Until next year, God bless and fulfill you. Goodbye for now. Enjoy your